Welcome back to another episode of Copying Carlos, the West Bromwich Albion Football Manager 2023 series, following the news that Carlos Corberán will remain Albion's manager despite interest from Leeds United. Corberán has signed a new deal to remain at the Hawthorns until 2027. And like all Albion fans, I'm delighted with the news and think there's no better time to ride the wave and get a new episode of the series out. So let's get into it. Should probably add that I was genuinely concerned about the future of this series after sort of rumours and reports had emerged in recent days that Leeds were looking to make Corberán their new boss following Jesse Marsch's departure from Ellen Road. But nevertheless, we don't have to start a Leeds save. I think that was the only other option. You know, if we're going to copy Carlos Corberán, then do we have to go to Leeds? And I don't think that would go down too well with my audience. But no, really grateful for his commitment. And I do think now Albion are massive contenders for a playoff spot at least. So a recap then for those who didn't watch episode 2, may have forgotten how we got on, or even perhaps for those who are tuning into the series for the first time. So we did kick off episode 2 with a good 2-1 win over Watford, of course, the team that you'd expect to be up there come the end of the season. Of course, Slaven Bilic as well in charge, former Albion boss, and we did beat them in our second game of the season. Daryl DK opened the scoring, which is good to see. Really good header, and then Matty Phillips scored the winner. Keenan Davis also scored for Watford with the equaliser. It was a tremendous finish, when it like a chip from the edge of the area. Really strange, Watford scoring lobs against us, I made that point. But anyway, yeah, Matty Phillips with the winner. A decent effort from range, so that was a great win. And then we went on to beat Wigan 2-0 in the Carabao Cup. I seen that match. Semi Ajayi playing in midfield, and Thomas Asante got the goal, which was really good to see. But Daryl DK did go from hero to zero as we went to Ewood Park and lost 2-0 to Blackburn Rovers. 2 goals in 4 minutes. Alex Palmer mistake for the opener. Really weird goal that. And Tyler Morton's effort from long range made it 2. But the main concern for me was Daryl DK's performance in that game. You can see there he had a rating of 5.9. Absolutely atrocious. He missed 3 or 4 sitters, had a few offside attempts, and it was just an awful performance. I did take him off. Thomas Asante came on. He only got a 6.5 there, so maybe not a great day for strikers, but Daryl DK was atrocious in that match, and he's definitely left me with more of a selection headache now going into our first match of the episode, which is against Cardiff City at the Hawthorns. And by the way, those results have left us sitting 6th in the Championship after 3 matches, 3 points behind Norwich and Bristol City, who can boast a 100% record after 3 games. Cardiff actually find themselves in a spot of bother in real life. They've had a really poor season, a number of factors behind that, such as ownership, managerial turnover, poor recruitment, poor spending, so on and so forth. But nevertheless, they do find themselves still under the management of Mark Hudson in this save. Due to the time of which it was started, his sacking wasn't recognised by the game. But anyway, yeah, I'm sure they'll pose a stern challenge. All Championship sides do. But there's one particular name that Albion fans will be interested to see amongst their squad. Cardiff, you've got to remember, did sign the likes of Callum Robinson, Cedric Kipre and Romain Sawyers from us all in one summer. The summer just gone, that was. But Football Manager has seen them add one more. Albion, I'm not going to call him a favourite. I don't know what I'd call him. He definitely splits opinion. And that man you can just see there in the bottom corner is the one and only Hal Robson-Kanu has signed for Cardiff on Football Manager. The turmeric god himself. Whether he is retired in real life, I'm not sure. I don't think he's officially announced his retirement, but I can't see him playing the game anytime soon. He seems really keen on his business interests and all that sort of stuff. Of course, didn't go to the World Cup with Wales, but he has signed for Cardiff on the game. And to be honest, if he was going to join a club, I think Cardiff are probably the most likeliest one. Of course, as I mentioned, they've got a bit of unbalance between the squad and that sort of thing, and they have been struggling. But he's a well-known Welsh player. He can pick up a few goals in the Championship again. I'm not going to really get into details on what I thought of Robson-Kanu. There's a lot to digest with him. All that I'll say, 143 appearances. I didn't realise he played that many for the club, but I do think a lot of other players we've had have been that poor, they've probably made him look better than he actually was. But nevertheless, yeah, Robson-Kanu has signed for Cardiff, and for me, what is probably a realistic transfer if he was to come back into football. The question is now, will he play against us and come back to haunt us? So I mentioned I've got a bit of a selection headache going into this Cardiff game following on from the Blackburn defeat. And I've made a few decisions here. The main one is Brandon Thomas Asante starting ahead of Daryl DK. I just don't think that DK can redeem himself after such a poor performance. In my eyes, Thomas Asante, considering I'm a fan of both in real life, does definitely deserve a chance. I've gone to play him in this advanced forward role. As you might remember, I've been playing Daryl DK in a complete forward role, which sort of encaptures all-round play as a striker, so you might be dropping deep to let the likes of Wallace get beyond you. But then again, you may be playing with your back to goal as a target man, or just hanging around the penalty area as a poacher. It is a role, however, that sort of relies on a lot of attributes, and you can probably see Thomas Asante's attributes aren't as well-rounded as Daryl DK is. Nevertheless, he has got some impressive ones in terms of his pace, determination and finishing. So I think that probably suits more of an advanced forward role, which is less focused on the build-up play and relies more on those natural attributes of finishing and pace and making yourself as much of a threat as possible up front, really. So he goes in there. I say I've made big changes. The only other one that's came in was a pretty straightforward one too. Dara O'Shea's been phenomenal in real life. I thought he was brilliant against Coventry, and he comes in for Semi Ajayi, following again two soft goals that were conceded against Blackburn. All that talk about Robson Carney was a complete waste of time, as he doesn't even feature in Cardiff's matchday squad. I'm definitely surprised to not even see him on the bench. I mean, he did have their highest average rating across the season so far. Maybe it was a fact though that he played one game and he played well in that, and is now just like a third choice option. He sits in the reserves. I'm not sure, but I'm definitely surprised not to see him feature completely. Romain Sawyers is on the bench though. No place for Cedric Kipre too, which is another interesting factor to take into consideration. I think he's quite popular amongst the Cardiff fans. You know, he's been one of their better players in what I mentioned has been a poor season. But Callum Robinson does return to the club. I expect him to play up front between Villagini and Ojo. Robinson, you know, I understand why he does have admirers amongst Albion fans. He did contribute effectively in the Championship. I just think his inconsistency as an attacker and sort of on-field personality wasn't quite to my liking. We've seen the likes of Jed Wallace, you know, be far more consistent and prove more useful than Robinson was really last season. So we're already past the 40th minute mark because nothing has happened whatsoever. We've not even had one highlight. It seems a bit of a boring game. Oh, hang on again, curse the commentator. We've got one as Matty Phillips picks up possession, lays it back to Eric Peters. Like that, bringing the ball forward there, back into Phillips, who's, as we might remember, is playing a bit more narrow as he was for Albion before picking up that injury. And Wallace will shoot from range. It's a good effort, to be fair, and it's well stopped in the end. I mean, in a game of fine margins, I think sometimes a moment of magic like we just saw from Wallace can sort of decide it, but not a bad effort, quite typical of Jed Wallace that, and it does bring us to half time. So basically nothing's happened. Wallace had a decent effort from range. You can see Thomas Asante's also struggling on a 6.3, so we might have to look into that one too. We are back underway then. I didn't tell the players I was furious with the display, and on the halftime team talk just mentioned that I don't think we've been good enough in attack and we need to create more. And Thomas Asante really looks like he's struggling physically too. You know, like look at the other players here at the bottom of the screen. Their fitness levels, which is indicated by the heart, are much better than his are at the moment. And that 6.2 rating is telling me he's struggling, which is a shame really. Maybe I should have put it on to work the ball into the box or lower crosses, considering he's not as big as Daryl DK. I'm going to give him a tiny bit longer because I really want him to do well, but it turns out, well, it doesn't look like he will. Of course, Ryan Allsop, former Albion goalie, made that save from Wallace. Let's do that now, work the ball into the box and just put on a lower crosses for now. We might get DK on and that'll change, but nothing's happening. It's just like such a boring game, to be honest. It's going to have to be Daryl DK on for Thomas Asante, not Diangana, but Daryl DK, now's the time to make amends for that previous performance. He'll go on to that complete forward role. John Swift's also having a poor game, so I'll bring on Tom Rogic and try and get a bit more of a goal threat, let's say, with putting him on an attacking midfield role. I know Yokuslu was struggling physically, so is Townsend. I'm just reluctant to change that role. I mean, we've got 5 substitutes, haven't we? So let's have a look at it. Shall we bring Malumbi into that role and put Gardner Hickman onto a ball-winning midfielder? And you know what, let's just get Grady on too. We've got 5 subs, let's use them, let's try and give us as best of a chance as possible whilst rotating players. Of course, the Championship's an unforgiving schedule, so hopefully that can help. I'm just looking at the tactics here. We have got Daryl Dike on, so maybe let's try and hit early crosses, in fact, and let's try and float them onto his head. Of course, we saw in the last game how well he did with a header. Go a bit more direct too. I'm trying to mix it up, do everything as different as what we've probably just done, because it clearly hasn't worked for 68 minutes. So you can also see it as we approach the closing stages. I brought Semi J on in the middle of defence. Eric Peters has gone to left back, but it's going to prove to no avail. It's a really disappointing performance, that, and disappointing result too. You know, we've got to be winning our home games in the Championship. You know, that's the least I expect. I just look at those stats and I think, well, we've only put 2 shots on target. Cardiff weren't up to anything, not even a shot on target there. XG is not the highest, so we maybe haven't created any sort of meaningful chances either. We've had 2 efforts from range with Wallace. That's it, so a really disappointing performance. Wallace does get a 7.3, but you know, obviously I can't really see where that's coming from. A decent defensive display, which is important. Of course, Alex Palmer played poorly at Blackburn, comes away with a 7.3 here. O'Shea does well on his return, as do the likes of Furlong, Peters, Malumbi. But Thomas Asante's performance is really disappointing, because I thought, well, okay, the first chance I can justify putting him in following DK's nightmare at Blackburn. I want him to live up to the chance. Scored in the Cup too, but again, just hasn't lived up to potential. Disappointing, really disappointing result. Yeah, I think saying I'm disappointed we should have won that match. Well, on the chance it created, maybe that was the wrong team talk, but yeah, I'm definitely disappointed. I'm not going to say anything to the defenders. It's more the midfield and attack I'm disappointed with, because we weren't ultimately good enough in that department. Keep a clean sheet, you expect to win games, but you know, when you can't even create a shot from within the penalty area, what chance have you got? It'd be interesting to see where this leaves us in the league table too, because I'd imagine we've dropped out of the playoff places. Should appear any second now. Here we go. Yeah, down to 8th, so not too catastrophic, but Norwich, you can see there, have won their 4th game in a row, 12 points, and we're already 5 behind them. So I think we could do with a win in our next game for sure. Just finishing off the press conference here, saying that, you know, the fans want to see the style of football they've been used to watching under Corbran. But yeah, so I've got a bit of a plan for the next couple of games. You can see we have got Hull City next up in just, what? When's it? 22nd? What? 2 days time? No, 3 days time, sorry. Ignore me, my head just wasn't working there. So we've got Hull in 3 days time on the Saturday, then we've got Fleetwood in the Carabao Cup, Huddersfield and Wigan. So on paper, you'd like to think we should be winning all 4 games. Therefore, I'm going to simulate through them just to speed up the process of the season and whatnot. Come back to you once all 4 games have been played, and we'll go through the scores and the goal scorers and the performance, that type of thing. So I know I said I'd come back to you once all those games have been played, but we've had a bit of an issue in the meantime. Colin Grant doesn't seem himself at the minute, according to Livermore, and feels like he should be starting more games. As a result of this, I asked Livermore to try and resolve the issue. Of course he couldn't. Come on Livermore, you've got to give me something. So I went to Grant, tried to speak with him, and it turns out he's not having any of it. He wants to play games. Of course he came close to joining Swansea on deadline day, didn't he? But back to the game, and he's not happy. You can see here, he thinks he should be, he's agreed playing time when you come into the side. He's an important player. For me, he's not going to get that. It says he's a regular starter. He's just played 1 game off the bench. But anyway, yeah, he's not particularly impressed with me as a manager. Complaining to his teammates, which is quite a worrying thing. You know, it could affect squad morale. He is within the influential hierarchy group. He's just unhappy, really. So I have to keep an eye on that. We've got a distant relationship, but I think if all Albion fans could speak to him, we probably wouldn't be too kind to him either. I mentioned I'm not a massive Grant fan. Apparently his idol is Thierry Henry, if anyone's interested. I'm not sure how the game knows this, but yeah, it's an interesting one, and Grant isn't happy with us at the moment. Following on from that Grant situation then, and it seems like we really upset him as he's failed to turn up to training. How about that? nice little feature in the game. So Grant has just skipped training because he's deeply unhappy at the Hawthorns. He has accepted a fine, which is on the club's code of conduct here. So missed training, he's already been fined a week's wages. So good to see we've inflicted some punishment upon him, but Grant doesn't turn up for training. He can't be playing games then if he's not going to show up. So that's an interesting one. It appears this Grant situation is becoming a bit of a problematic one now, because other players believe I should be giving Grant some games. And this is the risk when you upset an influential player in the dressing room on Football Manager. It can affect other and more important players in the squad. So, it's you couldn't write this. It's the most expected trio to side with Grant that you could have guessed throughout the squad. Livermore, Bartley and Matt Phillips. So, yeah, let's discuss this with them then and see what they've got to say. It's very disappointing we haven't been able to find a way to solve this problem. I'm not going to just compromise it and give him playing time. Yeah, I'm probably going to go with... I won't allow one player to create problems for the rest of the team because, you know, I'm not, basically. You're taking a big risk here. He could leave and that would be not good, and it wouldn't be a good outcome according to Livermore. Well, sure. Like, you know, none of us want to see him leave. No. Shall I just end the meeting and say it's very productive? We don't know. Let's try and compromise. Not compromise, but let's just back down. Let's not give him game time. But yeah, just end the meeting. Yeah. So again, nothing's come from that. Bartley and Livermore feel let down. Matt Phillips isn't happy too. So that's a bit of a concerning one. And you look at the dynamics. All of a sudden, the managerial support has gone down. So this is perhaps turning into a bigger issue of what it should be and what we need it to be. Because, you know, if we have a few bad results, that dressing room support goes right down, and we could be in trouble if the players stop performing. So, you know, it's one to keep an eye on here because Grant wants to play games. I don't want to play him. 19 players agree. That's basically the whole squad agree that Grant should be playing more. I'm not going to make any signings. I'm not going to let players go. I'm sticking with what we said at the first episode. The squad will stay the same. If there comes a point where Grant might play, then we'll see how he gets on. But for now, he's not going to play. He's missed training. But yeah, this could get out of control quickly, so I'm worried about this. So we are back after simulating all those games, and if I'm deadly honest with you, I'm not over the moon. You can see we did kick off the simulation period with a 3-0 win over Hull at the Hawthorns, so all 3 goals coming in the first half too. We must have been pretty rampant in that game. Everyone looked to have played well. You know, goalkeeper and defence with a minimum rating of 7.3 across the board there. Jed Wallace with an 8.4, Asante and Diangana getting goals too. Malumbi contributed. Looked like an all-round solid performance there. We quickly moved on to the Carabao Cup against Fleetwood, where I did rotate the team. Admittedly, you can see I brought in the likes of Diangana, kept with Thomas Asante up front against Hull, and the likes of Carl and Grant, who had only requested to speak to me then. He hadn't missed training, so he got to go in the cup. Disappointed. Ethan Ingram played, but basically Taylor Gardner, Hickman, Adam Reach, but it looks like the hero in that game was Alex Palmer. After we did thankfully win on penalties, the stats made it look like an absolute ball draw. We didn't even come close, so Alex Palmer must have saved us on penalties there. And then you go to Huddersfield, who I think were bottom of the league before we played them, and lost. Really disappointed with that. Went 1-0 up early on. Thomas Asante with a goal in the 8th minute, which was good to see. But then it looks like we capitulated. Alex Palmer with a disappointing rating of 6.3. Was he perhaps at fault for one of these goals? I'm not sure. But yeah, poor ratings across the board. But you think maybe it's a one-off. Unfortunately, it wasn't. We went to Wigan and put in an absolute disaster class. Poor ratings apart from Townsend. Again, all across the board. The stats suggest, again, we weren't creative enough. And we shipped a goal into Ashley Fletcher too. Really disappointing. I accidentally played this match fully, played it out, so I saw how it went, and we were awful. Thomas Asante was poor on a 6.2. Daryl DK comes on and missed what was like a one-on-one with the last kick of the game. Couldn't believe it, and clearly it's not going to plan. Maybe that poor atmosphere in the dressing room with a lot of players supporting Grant's request for more game time is actually harming us. We'll have to wait and see and hopefully get things back on track against Coventry. So if those results weren't frustrating enough, we have also suffered a setback from an injury point of view. So John Swift pulled his knee ligaments against Hull, I believe, and was substituted off in that match. Thankfully, he has now completed most of his recovery and you can expect him to return for the next game after this Coventry one. But the bad news is Dara O'Shea has also suffered a hernia and he'll be out for what you're looking at 2 weeks. So yeah, disappointing. 2 major players there. I think Swift was the only player to have not started and gained a rating of over 7 in that Hull match, and it was because he was taken off so early. There was also an update on the Grant situation. If I type him in there, that should be able to... Yes, so here we go. Grant's done a bit of Ronaldo and demanded first team football in a revealing interview. I mean, this doesn't make me want to put him in, so he's not doing himself any favours as Ronaldo didn't. However, if we do carry on these poor results, will I be tempted? Probably, yeah, but not just yet. You know, until he gets his act together, I don't think he's going to go anywhere near the team. But we have got Coventry next up, away from home, which was a match which was moved in real life. I'm not sure why. Was it when the Queen passed away? Possibly was. So yeah, not an easy game by any means after we've just beaten them in real life on Friday. So that Coventry game I do refer to was of course at the Hawthorns in real life. However, this one we face now is at the Coventry Building Society Arena, and I have got a few selection issues going into this game when the previously poor performances are taken into consideration. So I've decided I'm going to back DK up front after Thomas Asante disappointed at Wigan, although of course he's got a point to prove after some poor performances. Going back to basics here with Phillips on the left, as Carlos has been doing before his injury. Rogic has to play due to Swift's injury, still put him on attacking midfielder. Got Wallace in there. I've changed Yukuslu's role too to an anchor to maybe reflect his on-field role in real life a bit more as opposed to the defensive midfielder. You can see the description says the anchor sits between the defence and midfield, intercepting moves, winning the ball and laying it off. I suppose they are similar roles, but hopefully that unlocks his potential a bit more because I don't think he's played to his full ability from what we've seen so far on this save. Malumbi's then been knocked up to a supporting role too, and of course Ajayi comes in due to Dara O'Shea's injury. Yeah, that's what I've gone with. Whether it's right or wrong, we'll wait and see. We have also welcomed back Jake Livermore from injury, and he'll take a place on the bench. Let's get into this Coventry game then. Of course, not an easy team to play against. So there's a highlight here for Coventry with the main man, Victor Gyökeres, on the ball. Looks like they'll just pass it around the back. It's well intercepted there by Furlong, who looks to now drive forward. He's got Wallace ahead of him. Can Daryl DK attack that area? That's where we need him. Wallace, apparently that's a highlight. There is another highlight here as we build from the back. Yukuslu will just go into Ajayi. Malumbi now out to Townsend on the left. Can he utilise those attacking skills to get forward and contribute? He's moving well here, Townsend. Can he find Daryl DK? He can, but it's headed away. Yukuslu will do how to win it as Wallace shoots off the post. Oh, what a shot that was. Great effort from Jed Wallace. And I think we've started pretty brightly then, I guess. Again, we'll look to build from the back after a promising start. Yukuslu will go out wide to Furlong. Again, can he drive and utilise maybe Wallace down the right? It's Wallace now, found well by Rogic. Daryl DK's in there. It's nodded in by Daryl DK, and I think that's a goal we really do deserve. It's a bit fortunate, a deflected cross by Wallace, just loops onto the head of Daryl DK, but it's nice play. Furlong just supporting the attack as we ask him to do. Lovely combination between Rogic and Jed Wallace. Fortunate to find DK in the end, but there's the goal I think we deserve, and I think that's justified praise for the players, especially Jed Wallace has been involved in everything good we've done so far. It's a dangerous combination down the right with Furlong and Wallace, and then you've got Rogic supporting the team too. So just whack my hand off the desk. That's not pleasant, but I'm delighted we've got that first goal. It does seem like we've been the better team. However, when you're under pressure with 2 defeats against Huddersfield and Wigan, you do start to worry. As Bidwell will go into the book here. Oh wow, he's been sent off. Jake Bidwell has been sent off, and Coventry have now taken off Victor Gyökeres. That looks to be huge in our hopes of a win here. There is a highlight though. It's going to be typical. Concede to 10 men now. It's Dabo for Coventry. Goes back to Rose. It's a poor touch though. Well worked back Tom Rogic there. There's one thing I haven't quite seen from Rogic in his Albion career. It's a sort of role model work ethic. He did lose the ball too, and Coventry have possession back once more. Surely we can't concede to 10 men. Furlong, don't lose it. He's lost it. Are they in Coventry? They are. And we've conceded. Is he onside? He is. We've actually conceded to 10 men now. I can't believe that. What? It's god-awful defending. Furlong, and then no one's picking up Godden too, and he somehow squeezes it in. Should Alex Palmer be even getting beat at his near post? I'm not sure. A whirlwind few minutes. What we score, then just 12 minutes later, Jake Bidwell is sent off, and then Matt Godden scores for Coventry. I can't believe it. An assist for Neil Taylor at wing back, who's just come on too. So we've conceded to Coventry are playing one striker up front. Unbelievable. So it's half time and we go into the break at 1-1. I can't believe it. What an absolute manic first half that was. We've got to win this game though. We've got to win this game. I think I'm happy with how we've played in attack. So I'm going to say I'm pleased with the number of shots we've taken, but tell my creative players I've got faith in them to win us the game. They're the ones who are going to have to make the difference at the end of the day. Again, defending looked poor for the goal, but I'm hoping, having looked a bit iffy in attack in those previous defeats I mentioned, we'll be able to respond well in the second half. As I said, we need to win this though. Look, we're dropping down to 13th if not. So the ball goes towards the back post where Peters goes down and we've won a penalty kick. Who's going to be taking it though is the question. It's Jed Wallace over the ball. Have we had a penalty? Yeah, we've had a few penalties this season which Thomas Asante has scored and Grant has missed, I think. But anyway, can Jed Wallace put us ahead against Coventry? You bet he can. I thought he'd missed it. It's a huge goal. I really do think it is. It's his first goal of the season, which is a bit of a surprise too. As I said, he's been one of our better players this game. And I'm relieved more than anything. You can see, I've gone on to an attacking mentality. I've told us to sort of speed the play up. Let's really put the pressure on Coventry now to get that goal, which we needed desperately. Now I'll just drop it back onto positive, but you've got to go for the kill here and get another one. But I'm just relieved, as I said, more than anything. Do I make any changes? I mean, Tom Rogic's not having a great game by the looks of it. I think I'm going to bring him off, and I'm going to try something different here. So I'm going to bring on Grady Diangana for Tom Rogic and play Diangana in that. In fact, you know what? No, I'll completely go against what I was saying. I'm going to bring Matt Phillips out wide. Jed Wallace, as he did against Coventry in real life, can play as an attacking midfielder. And then we'll bring Grady Diangana on as a winger. Knock Townsend's attacking responsibility back a bit, and hopefully that just gives us the nice little bit of balance to get their win. We'll knock the time wasting up a bit as well now. A bit of game management never goes amiss. And look at Yukuslu. I mean, I've changed his role to an anchor, and he's instantly got a rating of 7. I'm not claiming to be a tactical genius, but who knows if that's had an impact. I could bring Jake Livermore on as well. I mean, I don't know why I'm sounding so keen on that. I'm definitely not. But I think I'll probably keep it how it is and just see off the game, putting the pressure on Coventry. They shouldn't be coming on to us with 10 men, playing 5 at the back still. They've got 2 up front. I definitely expect us to win this now. As I said, I'm just relieved because if we'd lost this, then that's 3 defeats on the trot. And whilst the squad are clearly not convinced by my managerial capabilities, that could lead on to fan pressure and media pressure and whatnot. But the main thing is we have got the win over Coventry City, and it's got to be deserved. I mean, the second half wasn't packed with chances, was it, to be honest? We started off the better team, went 1-0 up, at that manic period where Jake Bidwell was sent off. Coventry somehow equalised with 10 men, which is still frustrating me. And thankfully, second half, it looked like we huffed and puffed and finally got a penalty from a push. Again, that was slightly controversial. I didn't really mention that, but no, glad we got the win through Jed Wallace, who was our man of the match by the looks of it. Stats suggest that we were the better team. Saying we weren't that good, but I'm just going to say nice work everyone. that was good. The win is the main thing. Considering we do face Birmingham City next up in real life, I think it's only fitting Considering we face Birmingham City next up in real life 2 days after I'm recording this, I think it's only fitting I include a bonus game against them in this episode today. A few interesting lines just before we jump into the final match. It's expected to be a sellout, which is good to see. Tom Rogic should be dropped by Australia, according to the press. There's been a bit of criticism around his form. Carlan Grant has suffered an injury, so at least I've got an excuse not to play him so he doesn't become even more unhappy, but he joins O'Shea on the injury list there. John Swift has resumed full training and will also play a part in this match. So I'm looking forward to it though. Also Jason Malumbi should be kept in the Ireland squad, which is good to see. I think he's been pretty good for us so far, as he has been in real life under Corberan. So I'm going to go with an unchanged team for this Birmingham game. I do think the best chance of registering back-to-back wins probably comes in the form of going with an unchanged team. Of course, that does mean Tom Rogic keeps his place despite some iffy form. John Swift comes onto the bench and is recommended to play a maximum of 75 minutes. Yeah, I just think in terms of consistency, we've got that one win. Can we now make it two with the same players on the pitch? Hopefully we get another strong showing by Jed Wallace, and Daryl DK can really put a good run of form together now after scoring at Coventry too. Oh, I thought the game had messed up here. I've got a tunnel question. You continue to struggle. What? My lad? No. What's he asking me about my future for? Oh, well, that was interesting. It does suggest possibly that we are under pressure and we do need to put a run of wins together here. Be interesting to see what team Blues go for too. It's a 3 at the back system, which they have been utilising in real life. Well, they've got 2 players up front, no one really in that hold. They've got Chong playing in at more of a central midfield position. They're 16th in the league. I'm backing us to get the win here for sure. There's a throw for Blues here just past the 10-minute mark. Comes out to Chong on the edge of the area, who hits it off the woodwork. Got a bit of a reprieve there, that was close. In derby games especially, you always want to get out on top and really sort of assert yourself onto the performance as Rogic gets a ball in towards Daryl DK, who hits the bar. So we've both hit the bar now, and to be honest, Daryl DK looked like he should have scored that. It was right under the crossbar. I'm sort of bemused as to how he's missed it. It's a ball in by Phillips as well, which goes all the way through to the back post and out for a throw. So as we approach half time, you can actually see we've been very dominant in the final third, a lot more passes. Maybe haven't been as progressive as we'd like. Again, we've had that one clear-cut chance though. I'd like to see the DK opportunity again, to be honest. I'm not going to go back and rewind it, if that makes sense. But we do go into half-time at 0-0. An interesting one. We both hit the woodwork. I think ours was the better chance. Can't really say much from the half apart from that. Good to see Tom Rogic playing well though. Could be a chance here as Furlong goes down the right into Jed Wallace. Rogic heads straight at John Ruddy, who's got hair by the looks of it. Yeah, it would have been good to see Tom Rogic get the goal there. It appears the highlight isn't over. I thought Eric Peters was going to get beaten in the air there. Matt Phillips now out to Townsend down the left-hand side. He's got acres of space to get into. Can he find DK? No, he can't. It's cleared away again by Blues. Furlong once more. You can tell we're just putting the pressure on more, trying to pen them into their half. That's why we had so many more passes in their half. DK's in. He's put it over. He's put it over. It's going to be one of those games, isn't it? I don't know what to do. It's down to a 6.3. I've got a bad feeling about this. Thankfully, Ajay clears. DK, did he win the header? I'm not sure. He does that time, but it's straight to Bielik. Well done, Furlong's impressed me this episode, to be honest, and he might be able to spark another attack here. Back through Ajay and Furlong again. Seems to be combining well with Jed Wallace. He could have set him away there, but he'll instead go into Malumbi, again with Furlong. We're utilising the width well here. Nice play by Furlong towards Wallace. I've just got a nasty feeling Blues are going to hit us on the counter-attack any second. It's Colin now for Blues. Goes back to Sanderson. Of course, they're in that back three shape as we touched on earlier. Scott Hogan scored a hat-trick against us in real life, didn't he? Shows how poor we were under Steve Bruce. And now Deeney is in. He scored. It's so typical. It's so typical. Daryl DK misses that chance. Troy Deeney scores it. What more can you do as a manager? I feel like Steve Bruce. I am Steve Bruce. Of course, I'm really not happy with that. And Daryl DK misses the chance. I just can't get over the fact that Deeney scores, DK doesn't. It's not like, you know, Deeney's got 10 times better stats and finishing attributes and that's all that sort of thing. I know we need a goal though as well, to be honest. I'm going to take DK off. I just can't keep him on after that. I'll kick myself if he misses another chance. Thomas Asante comes on. Malumbi forwards and bring John Swift into that double pivot as an advanced playmaker from a bit deeper. And then we'll have Rodgick on too, providing attacking support. Matt Phillips may be off for Dean Garner too. By the looks of it, Eric Peters is having an absolute shocker on a 6.2. I mean, we've conceded some poor goals. What does that mean though? Does Carl Bartley come on? You know what, I'm going to move Connor Townsend into a ball-playing defender role. It's a bit brave. And then bring on Adam Reach as a wing-back. See how that works out. I'm desperate here. I want to just try anything to get us that one moment of magic. Anything, just give us one moment of hope. Again, we've hit the bar. You know, better expected goals. We've been the more dominant team, and it looks like we're going to lose again here. We've lost. We have. Don't yet. I can't believe it. Look at the stats. Just look at the stats. That does, of course, bring an end to the episode. I'm just absolutely gutted. I can't quite believe it. Daryl DK missing those chances. I've got a lot of thinking to do. You know, could we face the sack? Who knows? As I said, it was mentioned in the build-up, and you know, we're not doing as bad as Steve Bruce was. You know, we're not in the relegation zone, but we're definitely not copying Carlos as the series goes by. I just think goal scoring is the issue. You know, defensively we haven't been too bad. Look, we're 5th best defensive team in the league, but going forwards we're, how's that put us? I don't know. We're 6th worst. So yeah, I think that says it all. Nevertheless, thank you for tuning in. I hope it's been entertaining. I hope my stress is entertaining. All that we can do is bounce back in the next game. As I said, thank you for watching. Hopefully we can score some goals and really put a good run of form together and mount a playoff charge at the very least. I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Goodbye.